everybody. Welcome to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Tilford, joined by Josh Brown.
Hello, Scott.
Hello, I'm Ben Roy Turner.
Yeah, whatever.
Brilliant stuff. That's the energy that you want in 2021. Just getting through it.
When I don't go first, then I get upset and just drop for the
I
rest.
go off the order who's above me on the little chat window
really?
thing. So right now, it's Mr. JP Josh Brown. If you'd got here earlier, mate, you would be at the top. But
Come on, Ben Roy, get in.
I'm
always prompt.
I mean, that's the opposite of the truth, but you do what you can. Anyway, I thought we would, gather together on this auspicious day to talk about the future of the gaming industry in 2021. So basically, we just pooled our ideas as to what the biggest news items could be for 2021 that seemed like the most probable stuff. And not to start on too much of a downer, but God of War 2 is clearly being delayed. Let's just open on that. Do I have anything to the contrary? I pretty much think this is something that Sony should just get out there and say, rip the Band-Aid off and just let us know.
Yeah, I think God of War 2 it is getting delayed, man. I think we should all brace ourselves for that fact because, they only showed a logo when they announced it last year. 2021 always seemed a little bit optimistic. You throw in the fact that everything continues to be the way it is, and also the fact that Santa Monica Studios has 2 games in production. They've also got a Cory Barlog developed. It's rumored to be a sci-fi game. And I'm sure, I think I made these tweets up because I keep trying to find them, but Cory Barlog tweets so much today I couldn't. But I swear at Christmas time, he made a tweet essentially saying we've got 2 games and whichever one's done first, we'll release first. And that's cool.
That rings like a faint bell. Benroy, did you see any of these rumblings?
I see when he does things like changes everything to space and then it's oh, maybe I'm doing a space thing. Haha. But I don't know what Cory's doing at the moment because he's just banter merchant on Twitter. He doesn't really... he's a good follow. He's a good follow because you want some of that positive Twitter energy. You just go and look at Cory, and he's found some video that someone's made of his video game. And he's like, watch this because it's good stuff. But yeah, God of War 2, God of War, however many there are now, 7? I'm gonna say this is God of War the 7th.
I think this is the 7th one.
It's around that. Kratos versus Thor. Spoilers. I mean, if you're not paid by now, sorry. I don't know what I can say.
I believe this is the 8th one if you count all the portable ones as well.
Yeah, I was trying to count the PSP ones, but I couldn't do the math that quickly. But yeah,
either way, it's a highly anticipated thing, and obviously, I mean, for me, the original God of War is just the best game of the last generation, and I think that there's a lot to live up to. I wonder if they are in a position that maybe CDPR were kind of in towards the end of Cyberpunk, where it's maybe we can do this. We kind of have, if we just sort of bring this together, staple this, patch this up, stitch that, then we can get there for the end. Maybe that's what they're clinging on to, but it doesn't. There's a weird feeling around God of War where it's coming in 2021, but there's no trailer for it. There's nothing other than that initial announcement. When we got the announcement of God of War 2018, didn't it just kind of bam at E3 and then bam it came out? Wasn't it a really short window? And also, I used to be sort of oh well, you can't release it because when we thought Tsushima and Last of Us were both flop, well, eat each other, and they didn't. They both prospered and they both sold loads. So now I could see God of War coming out around Horizon, but at the same time, I think it's going to be March next year. I think it's going to be 2022. Just having a quick Google because that would be a hell of a one too if they dropped it the E3 of the year that it came out. But no, the debut trailer for 2018's God of War was in 2016. It was at E3 2016,
Jesus, okay.
Where Kratos walked out the shadows, and that was a massive moment. That does not feel like 5 years ago, but that's the harsh reality that we're in. But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think March 2022 is maybe a bit more I was going to say optimistic, but I guess realistic, like Ben Roy was saying, they might be able to pull it off. And it would be so cool if they did manage to pull it off for this year. Obviously, Santa Monica is a veteran team. They know what they're doing. They've already built the first God of War. I'm pretty sure at the time of release, Cory Barlog said, it's not going to take another 4 or 5 years. We've got the foundations here. We can hit the ground running. They made a big decision to not do any story DLC or any DLC like that, no expansion packs. So they just jumped straight to the sequel. So they could have been working on it non-stop since God of War 2018 shipped. And I'm sure they had ideas before then. But even then, I don't want to put all of the eggs in this one basket in the hopes that Ragnarok is coming in 2021 because to be honest, boys,
it already arrived in 2020, mate. Carry on.
It already did. I'm not even entirely sure I need it this year. I don't think it would make or break the year. I love God of War. Really excited for the second one. But there are a lot of cool titles, especially from Sony, coming out this year, including Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West.
Well, for me, it's I feel like you need that exclusive lineup. Like for me, it's so dry right now. Like there's like, and like if I look at 2021 at a glance, like, yeah, there's Horizon, but I'm just a little bit gutted that it's still on PS4. And then there's God of War, but we don't even know what, that's another whole thing, is we don't even know if it's on PS4, if it's cross-gen.
It's
like
on
whether
PS4.
It probably is going to be on PS4 and it's going to be delayed, but neither of these things they want to say right now. Maybe they want to get some goodwill out of the way with like Returnal and get some sort of PlayStation exclusive and then go from there. But that's a whole other thing, is the cross-gen stuff.
The only thing worse than putting it till next year is putting it in May with everything else. Like, just release it the same day as Returnal. Why not at this point? Like, everyone's just sitting on each other's lap at this point. Yeah, it would.
That would be another concrete genie.
Yeah, I what Josh said, I feel like there's no games now for it, but then like there's just simply, it's slow now. Like, you know, like that PS2 sort of slow now until like say this weird bump in May, and then it's going to be slow again. So I mean, after May, we're going to be drowned. We're going to be that meme where that kid's sort of like trying to survive, and then your backlog is drowning in the ocean, sort of thing. But yeah, I know what you mean. I'm either way. I could have either one, but I don't know. I'm unsure yet, but like, I'm not hyped for Horizon. I'm more hyped for God of War.
Yeah, same. I think another thing as well is that of all the studios that can sort of push back against like, we need to hit this release date or we need to hit this particular release window, Naughty Dog were always that. It felt like the one team on Sony's lineup that could say like, no, we're going to do what we're going to do, and it's going to be this long and take this long to make and whatever. And I would assume that because of God of War, Santa Monica now have that if they didn't have it before.
They were on their last stand before, and it was either that God of War hit or they were done, sort of thing. So now they have that big weight,
And you'd assume that because of that they can, and plus, like, I mean, the story that was being told, like, it's so personal from Corey. Like, there's so much that he's pulling from his relationship with his son, or like becoming a father and raising his son and everything. So I'm like, whatever that story is, like that whole trilogy, because initially it was planned, or it is planned to be a trilogy. You know, it has to hit every single beat of it. So I don't know, like props to them. Like, they should delay it if need be. It's just it feels increasingly weird not talking about it when every other exclusive for this year has a release date, and God of War is just kind of nebulously hanging there for the second half of the year. We should also talk about GTA 6. Ben Roy, this is one of the stories that you threw in, the idea of GTA 6 being announced / heavily rumored. I would assume full on announcement.
Didn't I put a didn't I put a lull somewhere in there? I meant to. Yeah, but like it's this brewing of like GTA sold now 140 million. You think they were slowing down. That's like one of the newest figures floating around. And at this point, I even think like you've got those diehards that live on, like, it's become like not an MMO as such, but it's somewhere you live in GTA Online. Like
I was honestly, right, for GTA Online, looking at last night, there was a guy who runs a aerial display team, and he was showing off, like, it was like 5 or 6 different pilots that do all, like, that set the flares off and do different like twisting movements through the sky, and he was like sharing all this stuff. He's like, oh, look what we've done is this aerial display team inside GTA Online, and they have to do it in a private server because everyone just shoots them out the sky if they do it in the public one. But the fact that he was able to do that, I'm like, that's insane that it's that malleable. It's become this second life thing for some people.
It definitely has. And like the last time I made a venture into that sort of like space, we just did the modes where it's like those flying sort of like race destruction things in the sky, or like when you start and you're a car on a parachute, you've got to land on the spot. Like, we were just doing all those extreme games.
Right.
I feel like it probably feels like it's time now. Like, and they feel like if they did this, then they could be like, then this is their foundation for the next 10 years. But like at one point, doesn't it start to get to a point where they've put it out and they probably had a bunch more sales on PS5? Like, there was a specific PS5 version or something stupid.
Well,
and I just feel like it's the time.
Yeah, there's still like the PS5 one to come. There's still the whole next gen versions or whatever later this year. But
they're not even out yet.
No, and it's like there's not like the proper next gen one that apparently is coming, because when they did the PS5 reveal, it opened with that whole Rockstar sponsored GTA thing, and there's assumedly some full proper next gen version coming. But
that's why I don't think it's coming, boys. I just don't think it's getting announced this year, because of the fact that GTA 5 is still selling so well, and they've got this remaster that's on its way for the PlayStation 5, and then other consoles after the fact. So I don't think they would announce GTA 6 before that's properly established. Like, they can live on this thing, like Ben Roy was saying, for so much longer, and I don't feel like we'll see anything from a new project until maybe next year, or even maybe the year after, like for the 10-year anniversary. Like, in my head canon, it's going to release on like the 10-year anniversary of GTA 5, like 2023. That's when we'll get it. So we
That's
might
so
get an
crazy,
announcement
though.
early next year, but I feel like because they decided to remaster 5 and it's coming to the next gen consoles, they'll just coast on that a little bit.
Yeah, if that is true, I mean, they just sort of said like, oh, it's coming to PS5, but it's like, what does that really mean? They haven't necessarily drilled it down if they're reworking assets again, because that's the thing to always forget is that GTA 5 came out in 2013, right at the end of the 7th generation, got remastered for the 8th generation, and then we've sort of ridden that one out the whole time, and then that'll be the one that gets remade again on the current gen. So it's just like, that's insanely good business. Like they haven't gone back and had to spend the money, the R&D, doing a whole other version of it. But it's also crazy. I mean, the amount of time that it's been since GTA 5, 2000s Rockstar had about 7 sequels by now, including all the PSP ones and everything. So I don't know. Do you guys feel like you're like hungry for GTA, or is it just kind of like this weird side thing that's just ticking away in the background?
I'm kind of like, I'm not, and if like, I feel like you could probably give that satire if they got some more writers, because obviously all the writers have left now, the houses have gone as well. Like, I feel like you could probably get that same sort of style from somewhere else, but like, I don't know, like, there's so many, like GTA I think used to also be special because it was a big open world, and it was that like for a lot of the time it was like, you know, I'm just going to go out there and blow something up, and then it became this really, then we had the 2 like really hard hitting stories, and now I don't know what I want from GTA anymore. I don't think it can just be, I mean, it can just be another GTA and it will destroy everything, but for me personally I just don't think it's like, I think there probably needs to be a bit more there, but obviously there doesn't need to be a bit more there because it's GTA and it will just destroy anything in its path.
It is so weird, isn't it? Like you've got like GTA 4 was like sort of the left field one. GTA 5 is the best selling thing ever. Like I think it is literally the best selling piece of entertainment ever. And then it's like, what do you even do after that? And then Dan Houser's left. Sam Houser's stayed, but he wasn't massively creatively involved beforehand. His great contribution was the hot coffee scandal for San Andreas. So it's like, you want to lead with that stuff next time. But I don't know. I guess Josh, what do you think they'll do going forward?
I honestly, I think I'd be a fool to guess. You know, we've covered so many different rumors about it at this point, about potentially going back to the 1970s, doing Vice City, having a bunch of different cities from the older games come in. And like Ben Roy was saying, they're in a kind of like interesting position because it's coming up the 10-year anniversary of GTA 5. It's been a whole generation without a proper one, like without a PS4 or Xbox One era GTA. Like you said, we just carried over GTA 5 and remastered it. So I am hungry for it personally. Like I was living off GTA Online for a long time, but now I haven't touched that in a good few years now. So I'm eager to see what they do next. And that's especially compounded because we've not really seen much from Rockstar in general. We got Red Dead Redemption 2, which is one of my favorite games ever. So I'm not complaining that it took a long time to make that game. But like you said, it's not like the Rockstar of old. You know, every single time they release a game now, whether it's GTA or whatever, it's an event. It's a big drop. It's got this monumental feeling behind it. And the next GTA is inevitably going to have that feeling times 10 because it's going up against the biggest selling entertainment product ever. So I don't know what they're going to do. I just hope it retains that level of Rockstar quality that we got from all of the previous games and all of their recent projects. And I just hope it kind of justifies its existence, because we could just live on GTA 5 forever. But what are they going to bring to the table? What innovations are they going to bring? What revolutionary ideas are they going to bring to the forefront to push the genre forward like they did back, you know, in the day, even in GTA 4's day or GTA 5 day.
That was the whole thing with Red Dead. Like, it's going to revolutionize open world spaces all over again, because you had all this way of the game generating missions and content. You're not really realizing a main mission has become a side mission. What even is that distinction and stuff like that? And I think for the most part, they pulled that off. But then when you start, like, when people have really dug into it, it's like, oh, okay, these things are triggered to happen in this order. And, you know, you can go from this into a bar brawl into hunting this guy down, and it's not as dynamically generated as you think. And so I'm curious how much devs take from that, because even like the depth of Red Dead 2 it's such an opulent, over the top, expensive project. I don't even know if anyone can even replicate that other than Rockstar anyway. So I think that I'm curious how that even applies to GTA. Let's move on to some Konami stuff though. There's the whole Silent Hill thing. Like Silent Hill's been rumored for so long. I feel like we've talked about this for 2-3 years. But I know, but like the other week, the sort of legendary Silent Hill composer, Akira Yamaoka, was on a podcast called AI Hub, and he was asked by the host, you know, what are you working on and what's coming up? And he said, I've got something coming out, or something that's going to be announced halfway through 2021, and I think it's what you've all been waiting for. And that part of the interview has now been removed. Konami were apparently asked about this. They said it wasn't them, but they would say that, wouldn't they? So, but otherwise, why else would that dude say that? Obviously, he knew what he was saying. It took him a while to reply in the audio as well. He sort of talks to his translator and he's like, oh, God, I think it's the one you're waiting for. And there's also the Metal Gear stuff. But let's stick with Silent Hill for a sec. Do you think it's just, I guess, Benroy, do you think it's long overdue, Silent Hill just being a thing?
It's strange because when someone on a podcast that I've not really heard of, and like, not that I know all podcasts, and then someone goes, "Hey man, hey Akira Yamaoka, what are you working on?" And then he goes, "Oh, something that you might want to see," and I'm like, "What?" It seems like he's just sort of like he's just trying to light a match and just throw it into some like kindling and try and like get it going, and Konami's just like, no, mate, we're doing some pachinko and we're trying to remaster.
We've got pairs, all right?
Yeah, they're trying to make better pachinko machines. Like I just watched the Metal Gear Solid 3 cutscenes in pachinko form the other day again.
Which are brilliant. And it's so infuriating. Yeah. I know, it's so infuriating they didn't do any more with it.
And then playing, I get off Metal Gear, but then playing like I was considering downloading that. They were playing the HD collection via PlayStation Now because I think it was the Xbox version of the Silent Hill HD collection that never got fixed, but the PlayStation one did. Because like there's no fog in the PlayStation, in the Xbox version. It's a whole thing. Like what the hell were you doing? But like I've been thinking about Silent Hill for a while, and like just like into like. Since Silent Hills, and you're so close, and then they're ripped away, and then they're just like, no, we're not doing this. See you later, get out. It's a bit like Nintendo, where they go, how dare they think they can have a Nintendo game on an Xbox? No, get out. And it's just like, I don't know whether it's just like there's a certain like level of no, get out is sometimes with the people in Japan that like to make games and like to control their properties, and so they should, because some of these properties are something like Silent Hill, like. Mm-hmm. It's always been up there. It's been up there, and then it had its weird time where they were just trying to milk it for all it's worth and turn it into all this crap and like a dungeon crawler sort of thing, which didn't work. But Silent Hill, if you just did even like a smaller budget, like I'm trying to think of that horror game that we have both played, Scott. The Medium. Yeah. Just do that. Just give us that on a small scale, or just pay someone Bluepoint to sort out your remake.
Yeah, it's just the Medium like was such a reminder of old school, like the isometric camera angles. It is. It's so gorgeous, and the way that it plays, like it doesn't have tank controls, but it is more restricted kind of movement, and that gets in the way sometimes with the stealth sections or whatever. But I love that game, and it was such a reminder of that old school isolation, the tension that came from old school horror, and where I love the cinematography of it. Like you can frame spaces in a way that you can't when the camera's over your shoulder, and I think that contributes to it so much. Like some creature appears in the foreground, and oh my god, I've got to deal with it in this weird tight space. That stuff was just so effective, and if they did more Silent Hill, for me I would want it to be old school, but I don't know if Konami would ever go down that route again.
I like the fixed camera, like the perfect fixed camera is like when it moves about with you as well, and it's not just like static like in the Silent Hills and Code Veronica, correct? Like that is like the perfect sort of thing. But I don't know if it is the mainstream. Maybe they could get away with it like Resident Evil Remake 1, but I want to know what Josh thinks because I cut him off.
No. It's fascinating, man, because I feel like I've talked about this Resident Evil remake or remaster or whatever it's going to be, continuation, for so long because I'm burned out on these rumors. Resident Evil. As I was talking to Benroy, looking into his eyes, I just got corrupted by the Resident Evil vibes. Yeah, Silent Hill. We've been talking about like those rumors for so long, and I've been burnt so many times about a potential Silent Hill revival. And at this point, I just want them to do anything, like give me an old school Silent Hill experience, give me that tank control-y kind of more puzzle-based experience, or try to reinvent the wheel and go down the PT first-person horror route. Like there's so much potential in the series, and that's why it's so frustrating to see it just never capitalized on, because the premise of having Silent Hill as a place, literally there, and also being this nightmare world that, brings to life the manifestations of whatever characters you throw in there, and like their innermost demons, dives into their psyche, brings out their fears. Like that can lead to literally endless possibilities, but it's almost like the Silent Hill iconography and the Silent Hill personality has almost suffocated any creativity, because now Silent Hill's just sexy demon nurses, and it's we got to get it.
I think it's just as much Pyramid Head. I think if you did like an iconic villain, yeah.
Yeah, or if you watch the film, those little bugs that you turn around, they go, yeah, and then you stamp on them.
You don't get 20 of them in.
No, the point is, right, we've seen those characters before. Like they were great with their respective games, and I don't think we want to have a case like the film version where it wanted to include those characters, but didn't really understand why they were important to the story. They just thought it was like, Pyramid Head looks cool, so we've got to have him in the game. When it comes to modern Silent Hill, whatever that is, I would want to see them, obviously pay homage and be respectful to what's come before, but also drive the franchise forward, bring new ideas to the table, bring new creations to the table that we get scared of again. Like, just please, the original creators keep teasing it. So I'll take whatever. Just
well, that's the thing.
Stop saying these things if it's
there's
not
so many
like I can't take it.
Yeah, there's so many of the original staff that are like, oh maybe, oh I don't know, and then like Akira Yamaoka just being like, it's the thing you've been waiting for, and then like it has to be that. Like what else is it gonna be? I mean, you were literally called Team Silent at one point, and now you literally are like, just say the other thing. And the other half of the Konami coin is the Metal Gear remake, which I forget where this initially started, but it's just sort of been bandied about so much. It was rumored that it was going to be one of the things that Blue Point are working on. There was the whole cast getting back together for one of the anniversary live casts or whatever that Jordan Vogt Roberts initially put into motion, but then it's kind of just, they still did like a whole thing where the voice cast got to talk to each other again, which led to a lot of rumors of like, are they getting back together to do more line reads and re-record that script all over again for the second time because they did it for Twin Snakes. Do you guys think that we'll get a Metal Gear remake? I don't even know if my brain can take it at this point.
I hope so.
It's just Konami again, isn't it? Like, it's waiting for someone to go, okay, look, how much money do you want, Konami? At this point, don't even get rid of your IP. Just lease it out and let someone else do it for you, because it's like they're sitting on Castlevania, Metal Gear, Silent Hill, and all. Like, I mean, people are just, I can't remember the specific names, but people are Castlevania in better than Castlevania was at the moment now, and like they're just doing this thing over here. We have the medium, which like you replace that certain like evil goblin thing with the Pyramid Head, and then you've got your Pyramid Head sections right there with less scraping, and like the world switching in that game. I'm just thinking about it the whole time. And then with like Metal Gear, it's just, I don't even, it's a stealth game, but like the name Metal Gear Solid, I think would sell. And I think if you just even tease it with like, not even tease it, put Metal Gear Solid 1 out again. Like maybe you just remake it and then just do it like that. Not really change. Maybe change some of the, like I was having a lot of problems last night trying to not shoot people and hold and square. Like some of the controls in like those games do get me, but you do get used to them. But you just do it. It's just like, I think it's still more than Demon Souls. Like, I'm sorry, but Demon Souls compared to like a Metal Gear Solid, get out of here. Like Metal Gear Solid would have crushed that. Like, that's just
My thing with Metal Gear is that like we can cite things like the medium as carrying on where Silent Hill left off, and the medium for me did scratch that itch, and I love that game. But like nothing is like Metal Gear, mainly because no other mind is like Hideo Kojima's. So it's like you can't do new Metal Gear because I just don't think you would nail the tone anywhere near enough. Obviously, there was more people that did contribute to Metal Gear over the years. I think most of them have left Konami at this point. But it's that whole thing where like maybe all that's left to do is bring those old games back out. My problem with it, which is just sheer 100% fan thing, is that if they re-recorded those lines, they wouldn't sound the same, obviously, but I know all those inflections off by heart. I love all those line reads. I don't need or want new versions of those really iconic lines. And even something, I'm just imagining like when Liquid goes down in the hind D and then Snake's like, that takes care of the cremation. And it's like, I don't need you to change anything. I need you to redo it. And so for me, just re-release Metal Gear Solid 1, just touch it up, put it in HD, put it in 4K, 60 FPS, whatever. That would work for me, but I don't know if that's enough for...
If they kept all the audio recordings, like I played number 1 on the PlayStation thingy, whatever it was, like 2 years ago. I'm playing number 2 now. Like I'm pretty sure you could just transplant that audio over, but like you don't know how like they've kept their files. It's not like we're a film when you've got like most film studios, like you're gonna send us everything, but like 7 layers of the audio here, so we can spice out what we need. With video games, you hear people like, I left it in a cardboard box in the roof, and like it's the difference. It's night and day between film and games. Like, but the recordings still sound lush, even on a PlayStation Mini thing, and even streamed over the internet.
Do you think Metal Gear 1 though? Do you think the audio would be high enough quality for them to just put it back out again? Because for me, that's obviously we're going back like over 2 decades.
Josh, haven't you played that one recently more than me? Like, I think it does sound fine.
It does.
It sounds fine, but...
Yeah, it holds up really well. I wonder whether or not the original recordings, like you said, would be of high enough quality to be transplanted directly onto a proper remake. But yeah, I was so surprised at how high the production values of that game just hold up going back to it years later? Because there's so many like great PlayStation games in your memory that you think hold up really well. If you go back and you kind of hear the sound effects and you're like, ooh, this is not high quality at all, and you couldn't just transplant them on a new game. But yeah, going back to MGS1 on that PlayStation Mini, and I was like, this still knocks my socks off. Not necessarily from a gameplay perspective anymore, but I think it's just a very difficult game to remake or remaster because it's so of its time and so distinct, like you said, Scott, in terms of even the delivery of the lines, not just the getting back the actors to deliver them. It's like those specific intonations, those specific cuts. Like we saw it with the Twin Snakes when they tried to remake everything.
I hated that.
You can throw it off whack completely and very quickly. But that said, I do want to see it come back because it's so hard to track down. Like you have to literally get a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation 3 or a Vita, I suppose, or get a PlayStation Mini to play it. Whereas you can just hop on PlayStation Now and boot up Snakey or
I'll tell you what as well. We mentioned Twin Snakes and how much Twin Snakes was different. I'm sure it was you, Josh, that sent me that interview where Kojima, that was the version he preferred drastically. I know that there's a whole other thing with the original Metal Gear Solid was translated by one person who put in all that military dialogue and made it, or he came up with the name Codec for the codec thing. And like that was one dude drawing from all these like 80s action films, which gave Metal Gear this tone that I personally love. I still think Metal Gear Solid on PS1 is the best one. And then it turned out that Kojima hated all that. And that was why Metal Gear went so banana sandwich after that, because he was like, no, this is what it's supposed to be. And then that's the thing. If you did it now, do you respect Kojima's wishes and not take from Metal Gear 1 that he notoriously hated, or like, hated apparently over time? Or do you do you still do that version and run the risk of him saying something during the marketing rollout that tanks the entire project? Like, I don't even know like which version of Metal Gear they would go for.
I don't think you can half-arse it, because I feel like Resident Evil 1 remake did it perfectly and it's stuck to it. They took out some of the crap like actual lines and redid some dialogue.
Is Jill Sandwich in the remake?
No, you were almost crushed into a sandwich. Like the sandwich is there, but you weren't a Jill sandwich. You could have almost fit in a sandwich at that point. It's something like that. But like, whereas in like Resident Evil 3, where they try to skirt the line and then they cut half the game out, it's like, oh, this is what's going on here. Like I feel like you either need to go all the way hardcore into it and like go wacky. And I think you should go hardcore into at least Metal Gear 1, because at this point you don't want to become George Lucas and put a load of Banthas in front of the screen.
I'd imagine if it is all true that it was given to Bluepoint and they're the ones that do it, they seem to be the studio that works the most with the original creators, and sort of does a one-to-one, like a reskinning, like a sort of reimagining of it. Like what would these textures look like on the modern day? And I think they would want to collaborate with Kojima, or they'd want to collaborate with those original artists. And I don't trust Konami to let anyone have access to that team, but I guess Kojima could sit in, but then he'd probably want to change stuff.
The one thing I would do is I probably would have first-person shooting mode in that and try and make it work. I mean, it might kill the Ocelot fight. You might have to change that, but I feel like you don't need it for this point. But I feel like it to have a nice continuity with the other games. I feel like it should have that at least.
Yeah, I mean, they put it in Twin Snakes. I think, like, for me, like, the way that MGS5 plays, it's like, I wonder if you made Metal Gear 1 play like Phantom Pain, I think we'd probably burn through it in, like, half an hour, because, like, Phantom Pain just goes, like, so much more.
Utter goodness.
Yeah, it could be a way to go, but I guess even if this thing is even true, we'll have to wait and see. The final thing, which is something that's been talked about for a few years, we can it's a lot quicker to sort of delve into. It's just the idea of Nintendo doing another Switch this year. One of the most, like, it's been doing the rounds for a few years, but one of the most recent rumors came from Dr. Serkan Todo, who's a Japanese games analyst who works for Kantan Games, saying that the Nintendo Switch capable of 4K resolution is apparently coming in 2021. Do you guys think you would buy another Switch just for increased horsepower?
I need games, right? I've changed my tune since the last time we covered this, because originally I thought, yes, I want a 4K Switch. That's awesome. And then I thought, what would I play on it? Only currently games I've already played. Yeah. And I need more titles announced from Nintendo. I need things to look forward to, because at the moment I feel like the slate's quite empty. I mean, yeah, we've got Breath of the Wild 2 that's been announced, but
hey, there's Mario, mate. Just because it's remade from a Wii U, don't you worry about it. It's brand new. Bowser's Fury is coming in.
Well, yeah, week. I guess there's that. I mean, at the moment, I'm playing the Ring Fit, and I'm thinking, do I need to play this in 4K? Probably not. But get me some cool games announced, and I absolutely would pay to play Breath of the Wild 2 in 4K with the highest possible features.
If they tie it in with Metroid Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3, then at least you've got two big sort of bombastic productions. Like, it's not like bombastic for Bayonetta, like Metroid Prime. I guess we'll see what that thing looks like. But like, you know, the idea of a Switch being capable of solid 60 FPS gameplay tied in with their return to a first person shooter, or whatever you want to call Prime. I know it has puzzle elements, whatever. But like, if they do that and they're like, here, this is our entry into this, like this generation's first person shooter type game that's Nintendo branded, and it's Metroid and it runs in 4K 60, like that would be a hell of a thing. But it is true that their release slate is absolutely nothing right now. Like, they don't really have anything other than just probably Zelda, probably this year. Like we sort of said,
it's not going to happen. They don't need to do it. They've sold a quadrillion Switches. They're still selling them. I don't think you give a console a 4K update like the Switch unless you're doing a new thing, because they don't need to push it at this point. They might call it the HD Plus or some crap, but I think if they're doing a 4K machine, it won't be the next one. It'll be the one afterwards. The next one will be like it'll run at like 2K or something. It won't be true 4K. And their game's really lush as it is, how it is. And I'm never gonna play a third party game first on the Switch. I don't want to play like The Witcher on the go, really. Like, I want all this sort of thing in my glorious TV, even though you can plug a Switch into the TV. Most of the time I want the Switch on the sofa, like, you know, I'm making a horrible Mario Maker course to just punish myself. But like, yeah, I don't think those Mario games, like, I don't think the Mario games need to be in 4K. They'll be in 4K at one point, but they look so good. But at the same time, I think you've got what you need out of it as it is, and they've only really just reached the land of HD properly. So it's just like, and they can't. You have to speak to someone on a Switch via a smartphone. Like,
I was just gonna say, like, they still haven't figured out voice chat, let alone
they don't care, because they don't need to. They're not just like, they're just like, no. Well,
I don't have any faith in them doing this at all. But if they could do what Microsoft do with upscaling stuff automatically, the idea of 4K Super Mario World, 4K anything from their Legacy collection would just be phenomenal. But like you say, they don't need to, and they're
All-Stars, Scott.
All-Stars.
What was that? That was, let's up-res this old ROM that we hacked off someone else's website as far as we can take it, and then get two more. Not even put Super Mario Galaxy 2 in there for some reason, because we're gonna save that. Well, we've done a few. You idiots! Like, just why they're not going to do it.
Collection got Mr. Josh Brown to play Mario 64, and if that's the only way he's going to do it, then maybe that's just the bullet.
Because they need to make it playable. They need to not have it on the 3DS, like, because it's a tiny little. I don't want to play games like this. I don't like that. And then the Switch. This is why Josh got to play it, and I'm happy he got to play it. But it's not a good. I mean, it's probably. Is it the best version of that game? Like,
no.
What is?
It's not. I don't think so. I think it's built for the N64 controller, but that's a whole separate conversation. I'm glad that it exists. I'm glad it's a bit crispier, a bit cleaner and stuff. But the camera controls a dog. Carry on.
And you're going to be buying all those games for £70 each, and you're gonna do it, and we're all gonna do it and cry about it. I can't believe they did that. Where's my 4K Switch in 2024? And we're all still inside our rooms right now, just like, well, I've got the Switch SD because they released an SD version of the Switch.
Sorry, I can't hear you over this additional controller I've ordered and this additional memory card that I've ordered. Please speak up. Josh, what's the thing you were going to say there, mate?
I was just going to say, like, the real Mario 3D All-Stars fan has just entered the chat because, I've not played any of these games. I didn't grow up with Nintendo consoles, so there are so many experiences that, quite, frankly, Nintendo are holding hostage at the moment that I have to pay a lot of money to get perhaps the worst version of, and yet I'm willing to do it. And I think that says everything, not necessarily about me or my pride or my, respectability, but more so how Nintendo can just do the bare minimum and make the most money every single time. Yeah. So that's the only thing, like Ben Roy was saying, that gets me wondering about this, because they've not cared about this stuff really. And I'm sure they are feeling some pushback because we've just got next gen machines from Sony and Microsoft to do something, and I would like it to be this, but they could just say he's another 2DS or something. He's another Switch Mini, or
what's this? Is it Switch Mini? They're gonna,
called?
you know what? Konami are going to release all their Silent Hills remastered with Metal Gear on that only, not even normal Switch, the one that you can't plug into your TV. And they go like, there you go.
Konami will put it out on the KFC chicken chamber thing, just to be a little bit more different. But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments of all these various rumors and things. We'll get into more of them going forward, but this is a roundup of the biggest things that could happen in 2021. For now, this has been the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I've been your host, Scott Tailford, joined by Ben Roy Turner.
Yay, I'm first. We basically just went, all these rumors are crap and they're not going to happen. But anyway, see you
Who
later.
knows? Gaming, innit? And also, Josh Brown.
Goodbye. Who knows? We'll probably have like more GTA 6 news tomorrow or something that invalidates all of this, which I'm excited for.
Almost definitely, but it's my day off, so I'll be in bed. But till then, bye.
Bye.
Drowning in GTA 6.